Well, hello. Now just seems to be a good time, even though it's dark, the lighting's not that great. I have been wanting to make this video for such a long time that now just feels like a good time to sit down and just do it. So, I wanted to talk about kind of our highs and lows from our Disney cruise that we went on. We've been back for about a month or so. And so the dust has kind of settled. And so this is going to be like highs and lows or tips and tricks, things we learned, things we would do again, things we wouldn't do again, just kind of our overall general thoughts after being on our first Disney cruise. So if we haven't met yet, my name's Tiffany. A lot of my videos are grad school vlogs, but I also talk about being a child life specialist, a doula, a childbirth educator, and lots of other things that I'm just really passionate about. So if that sounds like the type of thing you'd like to come along for, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. So Tiffany from the future, editing Tiffany, is here to make a very long story short. I shared the full story in all its detail in the full version, but really just suffice it to say that the trip there was a low point due to losing a kid in the airport. The kid got to a whole different terminal, so that was no fun. Our flight got canceled. We ended up having to drive to another airport an hour away, rent a car, stay in a hotel, and then almost didn't make the flight in the morning. That flight almost also got canceled due to needing to switch aircraft, but then they said, never mind, it's fine. We can use this plane. It was lots of drama getting there, which was definitely a low point of our trip, but it was very specific to our trip and not anything that has much in the way of like helpful advice on if you're planning your Disney cruise. So I wanted to come back and edit this and change it a little bit so that you weren't listening to 10 minutes of my I lost a kid in an airport story. Our cruise wasn't leaving till Saturday, so that worked out okay. It all worked out, but oh my gosh, that was we started low. We started real low, just getting there. So the next low, by the way, these aren't necessarily in order, though that was definitely the lowest of the low, what I just shared, but these aren't in any particular order. They were just kind of in the order that I thought of them. The next low of the cruise, just in general, the dinners were really hard, specifically for my 3-year-old. We had gotten early dining, which we thought was great. But it turns out I actually think we might have preferred late dining, and I think that might have been a better fit. My 3-year-old kept running away from the table. They constantly had to go to the bathroom, or didn't have to go to the bathroom, but because they're 3 and they're recently potty trained, you have to believe them when they say they have to go potty. And so it was literally the whole dinner of just running after them, taking them to these very long, extended bathroom trips. The bathrooms were not that close. You had to exit the restaurant to get to the bathrooms, so there was no bathrooms like in the restaurants themselves. And so that was really hard. And I think that late dining actually would have been better because a couple times, like, I just felt like the staff was so busy during dinner that I didn't feel okay requesting much extra. Like, I knew that we could, but it was really hard because I could just tell that the staff was stressed. And like, because sometimes me or my husband would miss ordering dessert because we were up with the 3-year-old, we'd be like rushing, and like I knew that they had late dining to get ready for. The staff didn't like rush us intentionally or anything like that. I just felt this stress. And I actually think I've heard late dining, since it's a little quieter, they don't have to get ready for the next one after. I think that would have been a better fit. Also, I think we maybe would have had a shot at the kids doing okay during a early show. Maybe not. I don't know. And then, like, if they fall asleep at the dinner table, that's fine. But dinners were hard. If I were to do it again, I think I would want to try late dining just to see if that would make a difference for us. Overall, the next kind of low is, I would say, the cruise was certainly more relaxing than like Walt Disney World, but it was not as relaxing as we thought it was going to be. We still had a wonderful time. It was a wonderful trip. I want to do it again. But I thought it was going to be really relaxing. I thought my kids were going to want to be like in the kids center all day long, and that me and my husband would just go to the adult pool. Like, that did not really happen. My kids really liked the pool side the best. So there was a lot of like just still like constantly supervising them. They would go to the kids center, but they didn't necessarily want to go there. Like, they weren't asking to go there all the time. So overall, I would say it wasn't like super relaxing, but there were relaxing parts, and it was certainly enjoyable. This isn't really a low. This is just something I wish was different. That last night, you have to put your luggage out really kind of early. I think by like 10:30, and I found that there was so much going on the ship that it was really hard to get packed and get ready and put all the luggage out by 10:30. I wish it was like even by midnight or 1 a.m. like just so you could really enjoy the last night on the ship. I suppose you could also, you can just carry your luggage, but family of 6, that's a lot. We really wanted to take advantage of them taking it for us, but I wish it didn't have to go out so early that night. And I don't think there's anything I could have really done differently to speed up the process, like in terms of repacking, maybe, but I just wish that was a little different. The next thing I would do differently is I would definitely order room service breakfast on port days. Our first port day, we ate at Lumiere's, one of the restaurants, which was lovely. The breakfast was great, but that did mean it took us a little longer to get to the port. So that was fine. We weren't on a tight time frame, but we kind of wanted to get up and moving, and so the same thing happened on our Castaway Cay day. I really wanted to get off early, but then we would have needed to eat, and so we ended up not eating before we got off the ship, and then we were really hungry for lunch. So I would definitely order room service breakfast on port days specifically next time. And then the next kind of low was on the first sea day, we tried Cabana's breakfast, and oh my goodness, it was the only part of the trip where I was like, it is too crowded here. There was nowhere to sit. The only place we did find to sit was in the hot, beaming sun, like just heat radiating on you while you're trying to eat. It's a buffet, so you're trying to get up and go back inside a million different times to get the kids everything they need to eat. Whew, no. I would try it again at a quieter time if I had went earlier, and if I could be inside closer to where all the food was. But Cabana's breakfast was very stressful. Definitely a no-go for that and the way that we did it. I would like to try it again, but I would go much earlier. I've also heard it's really good to go to Cabana's actually on disembarkation day, that it's actually not very busy there. So I might consider that, but we didn't that this time. So Cabana's breakfast was just too chaotic and really hard for a family. All right. So now for the highs, and there's more highs than there are lows for sure. So the first high was, and like things that we felt we did right, is just like I said, Cabana's breakfast could get really crowded. I've heard Cabana's lunch on embarkation day is like wild. We wanted to avoid that. So we actually did lunch poolside. My kids all wanted to go to the pool right away. And so just sitting outside, it was not crowded yet when we got on the ship at like noon. So we went to Cabanas, or not to Cabanas, I'm sorry, to the poolside lunches and just ate at the poolside. I had the chicken shawarma that was really good, and the chicken tenders really are so very delicious. So if you've heard of them, they're legit. We had a lovely time doing that. The kids got to play before it got too crowded and could just kind of come to the plate, eat a little, go run off to the pool. So highly recommend doing it that way. 2 evenings on the ship, I did get some hot tub time late at night once the kids had calmed down. The adult only pool was only open till like, I want to say 11. I do wish it was open a little later, maybe till midnight, but they had like private hot tubs, and it was so nice. That was a definite high. Definitely something I would recommend. Now another high, I know I said this was a low before, but Cabanas lunch. That's first sea day. We went to Cabanas, and it was busy, but it was not as bad as it was in the morning. And so the lunch was fantastic. A full plate of like shrimp and crab legs, which is just like the way to my heart. I love seafood. And just a lot of really good stuff, like little corn dog nuggets. I mean, it was so good. So Cabanas lunch, I definitely think is worth it at some point on your cruise. I think with Cabanas, the key is just finding the time where it's not so completely overloaded that you can't even move, you can't do anything, but the food is definitely tasty. It's definitely something you want to check out at some point during the cruise. Animator's Palette is the next high. This is one of the dinners. Now I know I said in my lows that the dinners were really hard. That was very specific to just my 3-year-old, but Animator's Palette overall was a wonderful restaurant. We really enjoyed that restaurant. That had our favorite food almost of the whole cruise. We did eat at Palo, but my husband and I ate at Palo, which was wonderful, but I liked the food honestly almost just as much at Animator's Palette than at the like extra cost Palo. So love Animator's Palette. Also, Animator's Palette has these little bread knives that they give you that are shaped like a little paintbrush. They are absolutely adorable, and they sell them on the ship. The best thing about it is they are only $10. $10 for a Disney souvenir. And like, this is actually useful. Like, we use it to spread butter on our toast at home, and every time it's a little reminder. And so this is one of my favorite souvenirs I've ever gotten from anywhere. Actually, my other favorite souvenir is dirty right now. It's a salad bowl that we got from not Disney but somewhere else. So I really find that I like kitchen items as souvenirs because you use them, and highly recommend this as a souvenir. All right, the next high that I have is the pool time in general was really great. I was a little worried about it because I had just heard that it is so crowded, that the pools get so crowded. They're like people soup and you can't move around, and honestly, they are crowded. However, there was never a time where I felt like I couldn't get in the water. I was always able to use the facility that I wanted to. It was never that overcrowded. I do think it depends on what your expectations for the pool are. If you think the pool on a cruise ship is like to get in and like lay and lounge like on an inflatable, And I don't think you can even bring inflatables. There's not space for that. You can't like just float in the water and relax and or swim laps or do anything like that. The purpose of the pool for me is to keep cool. And so there's definitely room to get in the water and keep cool while you watch a Disney movie. And that's really all I needed. So I was really pleasantly surprised that the pool time was not as crowded as I maybe feared. And along with that, another high point of the whole trip was the water slides. On the Magic, it's the Aquadunk, so it drops you really fast, and then they have another like yellow twisty pool. I don't remember in my childhood going on water slides. I think I did at some point, but I have not done it in a very long time. And the laughter and pure joy that came out of me as I went down the water slides was just like, I really did just feel like a kid. And it was just so fun. Even the water slide that we went on at one of the excursions was great. Like, it was just like, I didn't remember what that felt like. I can't remember when I've been on a water slide, but it was a lot more fun than I would have imagined. So really enjoyed the water slides. And then the other kind of water thing we did is we did our own excursion when we got off at Grand Cayman, and we went to the Grand Cayman Turtle Center. And that was wonderful. It is a little bit of a drive to get there. So we took the city bus, which only cost us $2.50 per person each way. So total of $5 per person to get there and back. And you get to snorkel with the turtles, and you get to they have like little wading pools with baby turtles, and you can actually get in there and do a 2-finger touch. And that was so great. It was a little stressful and hot, like just getting there and once like figuring out where we needed to go. But once we figured it out, it was great. The area for snorkeling, you kind of have to enter at the beach area that they have. And then it is a bit of a swim to get to where the turtles are. And so only my oldest, my 11-year-old, felt confident enough to do that. So that was a little hard because I swam out with my daughter, and then I had to swim all the way back. And then my husband went to swim out so that he could get to experience the turtles, and I could be with the little ones who weren't going to be able to snorkel out that far. But a really cool experience getting to snorkel with sea turtles. That was amazing. And so then I took my little ones to the other side of the park where they had these wading pools that were like kind of octagon shape, if I remember right. And you could actually get in and do the 2-finger touch with a handful of baby sea turtles. And where my littler kids were scared of the snorkeling area, they were not scared of this. And so that was amazing. It's such a happy memory for me because the boys were like naming every turtle and like making up little stories about them, and really well behaved during that. They were not like trying to pick up the turtles, which of course you cannot do. They were following all of the rules with that. And so it was just a really great happy memory. And then right next to that place was a like pool with a water slide. And that water slide, like I said, I went down that water slide. It was so fast and so fun. And it was just a great time all around. So another high was the character meet and greet, specifically actually the characters at Rapunzel's royal table and the dinner. So even though dinner was stressful, because back to the 3-year-old, there were some definite magic moments. specifically the ruffians or the Vikings, whoever they are, from Rapunzel's. They were so loud and so funny. I actually laughed because when I was walking into the restaurant, I heard like this Viking noise, and I thought it was my husband because that's how my husband acts. He makes like loud, obnoxious noises all the time. And then I realized, oh no, it's just the character, the Viking ruffians from Tangled. But the one was so funny. I have a great video of him interacting with my 6-year-old that I'll put here.
What are you gonna do with it? Money? You can trade your tooth for gold? Hey, I like gold. Hey, give me one of your teeth. No? Your dad's got it. Those are in those rooms.
But if you listen to the end of that video, I wish I had kept recording because he said something to my older daughter that he was like, how are those leaves? Because my daughter was eating a salad. And she was like, nah, she didn't like it so much. And I was like, not really, not really liking it. And he turned around to talk to a server who was like, had the server's back was to us. He was at the serving station, and it wasn't our server. And so he tried to get the attention, be like, hey, she doesn't like these leaves. And the server, since it wasn't our server, just totally ignored us. He's like, oh, the service in this place. And then the whole like lost tooth thing that was in the video, and give me that tooth for gold. And it was just a really funny interaction. I think that's the type of stuff that people tend to really love about Disney that I really hadn't experienced. We've only been to Disney World once. Honestly, it was a really hard trip for me, and it was actually during COVID before character interactions had fully come back. So that was really like the first like magical, really funny and fun character interaction that we had. So that's definitely a good memory. Another good memory is the Pirate Deck show. Now 2 of my boys were too tired and overwhelmed to go to that. But I ended up taking my 3-year-old because they said they wanted to go, and it was just magical. We were right up front. They were a little, you could tell they were getting a little slap happy. They were moving a lot, kind of hanging on the rope next to stage, but they managed. And then I'll never like forget Mickey being up on the zip line on the Disney Magic, and my kiddo looking up and how'd Mickey get up there? It was so sweet. It was so sweet. Really good memory, and just a lot of fun. And that actually ties in really to my last point, which is the great thing about a cruise in general is that there really is something for everyone, and not everyone has to do the same thing at the same time. And while we'll try to split up in other vacation spots, sometimes that can be really hard. But on a cruise, like everything's right there. So my 11-year-old was able to go to the Tweens Club and roam the ship freely. And she would just like look at the app and decide what she wanted to go do. And for the most part, she could really do that independently. And then, the boys didn't want to go to the deck parties. Those were too loud and overwhelming. So they stayed and watched movies and made a movie theater in the stateroom while, I would take the youngest one to the pirate show. And so or go to the hot tub, which was my favorite. So there really was something for everyone, and it was very easy to make sure that everybody, for the most part, got what they needed. Those are the highs. It's definitely no trip with kids. I like the phrase that you don't take vacations with kids, you take trips with kids. And that doesn't mean that trips are bad or not fun. They're great, but it is a trip, not necessarily a super relaxing vacation. But overall, it was wonderful. I want to go again. I don't know when that will happen, but I hope that this kind of cued you in to help you maybe decide if a Disney cruise might be worth it for you. And I would love to hear what your favorite parts of cruises you've been on were, your favorite parts, the hardest parts. And thanks for tuning in.